Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining our first ever PRISM office hours. We are happy to have you here. My name is Jenna Brashear, and I will be assisting Charles Rotblut with some of the Q&A regarding the PRISM Academy and AAII Community. As always, I want to remind all of our viewers that AAII is a nonprofit educational group and is not a financial advisor, and thus is not able to give personal advice. Every investor is different. That's why our goal with each broadcast and article is to educate you on how to make better financial decisions. And if you have questions for us, please submit them using the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel. We will select questions submitted and read them aloud for the benefit of all watching the broadcast. I'd like to preface that we have 2 surveys during our Q&A session today, and we'd appreciate your participation. There'll be one right in the beginning, and then there'll be one at the end. And then if you experience any issues with the audio or video of the webinar, please consult the instructions on how to change your device's settings or consult the GoToWebinar website for support at gotowebinar.com. And a friendly reminder that this presentation is recorded, and a replay of the PRISM office hours will be available tomorrow on AAII's YouTube channel. Again, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this Monday morning and look forward to answering your questions about PRISM.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to our first office hours for the PRISM Wealth Building Academy. As we've said before, the PRISM Wealth Building process provides a framework for aligning your investment decisions with your goals. And the PRISM Academy is really designed to help you get the most out of the PRISM process. It allows you to go through the process of developing your own wealth building plan. And Jenna, why don't we start off? We actually have a survey, I think, right off the bat to get some members engaged.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see, let me grab that for you guys. So the first poll is just going to gauge a little bit of interest on which PRISM Academy lessons have you already completed. I will launch it right now. And the survey will be in the GoToWebinar panel on the right side of the screen. So go ahead and participate when you can.
And while you all are taking the survey, I'll just share some numbers from Charles Schwab. They recently had a report out talking about financial plans, and their survey found that about 1/3 of Americans have a written financial plan. Another 42% thought about their goals, but lacked a formal plan. What was interesting was that 54% of what they called planners, which I assume people who have actually created their own financial plan, feel confident about reaching their goals versus 18% of non-planners. So just having a plan builds confidence, and certainly when you have a plan, it helps guide your decisions. And most importantly, when you're uncertain about what you should be doing, this plan really helps to guide your decisions and helps to give you clarity of your investment process. So I'm a big personal believer in plans, and part of the reason we developed PRISM is to really help those of you have a more structured way of managing your own investment decisions. And for those of you who might have previously designed a plan, this might create some thought in terms of what you have, whether or not it's correct, whether or not you need to possibly make some adjustments.
I'm going to go ahead and close that right now, and I'm going to share the results with you guys. Looks like about 69% of you have completed lesson 1, 8% lesson 2, 15% lesson 3, and 8% all of the above. And we appreciate everybody who has been actively discussing and engaging on our platforms in the AAII community. And we had posted lesson 4 last Thursday. So just remember to keep engaging and participating. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did post lesson 4 on Thursday. So if you haven't gone to it yet, please do. And our goal is to post new lessons each Thursday. So new videos, new lessons. We'll actually have some worksheets coming up to try and hone in on some key points. So keep your eyes open for that. But I will say, just before I open up to questions, I did just a quick survey looking at the responses about what goals members said they have. And this is unscientific, just kind of a rough count. But the top of the list was leaving an inheritance for heirs, and then funding retirement, which is not surprising. AAII membership tends to skew towards people near retirement and in retirement. So seeing those is not surprising. Tied for second was charity, and Jenna, you'll be interested, was travel, and I know that's one of your goals as well. So
It is.
yes, and to the one person who said I think they wanted to actually have a motorcycle to go travel. I'll say I'm jealous. That sounds like a very fun way to travel.
It does. It does. And there was one person I think with that wanted to fund an RV trip across the country, and then a couple world travelers out there that I think that wanted to go to South Africa and other places. So that's just excellent to hear.
Yes, I know Africa is on my wife's bucket list to go out there and do a tour out there. And so if you have questions, please put them in chat. We want to hear about them, want to answer them. A couple questions that have already come up. One member asked, how does the AAII way and PRISM compare? And so they're really one and the same. When we first started creating the PRISM process, we used the temporary name of AAII way and kind of used as our initial framework when we started developing it out. And as we developed it out, really throughout last year, we started actually creating this whole process probably about January 2020, maybe late 2019. And as we evolved the process, we actually came up with the acronym of PRISM. So each layer of PRISM really is tied to one step of the process. So AI Way was our initial, you could say, alpha version, beta version, and PRISM is really our just more developed version of it. So they are one and the same. Those of you who saw my early AI Way commentaries and my investor updates on the journal, you'll notice some things are the same. You'll notice some things are more built out or are tweaked a bit, but it's really just an evolution. Another person did ask me how the PRISM compares to other planning programs or other programs designed to give you a financial plan. Everyone's a little bit different, but I will say with the PRISM process, we really designed this to be personalized. So we're not saying do steps X, Y, and Z in terms of your investment strategy. We're really saying here's the path, here's the guardrails of what PRISM really provides, and just follow the path, but you decide where that path's going and what you're actually doing with your plan. So I kind of equate it to a car. You can think of PRISM process as a vehicle, but whether it's electric, it's gas powered, it's a sports car, it's an RV, that's up to you. We're giving you the basic blueprint to build that vehicle, but you get to decide what actually it looks like, what kind of vehicle, how it runs. And so the whole idea with PRISM is we'll give you the framework, but you decide what your investment strategy is, what your goals are. And so we really want it to be a personalized process, something that's really important to you. So we'll give you all the tools to build it, but you get, at the end of the day, you get to decide what your wealth building plan looks like and what's best for your situation. Jenna, do we have any questions coming in from the audience at all?
Not yet, but I just want to remind everybody that if you go to your GoToWebinar platform or control panel on the right side, you can hit questions and then you can input them there and we can answer anything, especially anything to do with the PRISM process overall, the AAII community, any kind of lessons that we've already posted and such. So.
Sure. Well, I will address one thing. I have seen some people mention about allocation in their comments. We are going to get to allocation in step 2. I'm in the process of actually creating the lessons for step 2. So we're going to get to it. So the PRISM process really is we're asking you to define your goals. Based on your goals, then we're going to actually define your risk tolerance, and then we'll move into allocation. And the reason we do this, so your goals is really what are you trying to do with your money? How far in the future it is, how much money do you need, and that starts playing into your risk tolerance in terms of, okay, I have these goals, I have this timeline, how much risk can I take? And based on your goals and based on your risk tolerance, then that drives your allocation decisions. So to those who've commented on the boards, allocation is really important. We're going to get to that. It's a process of actually walking you up to that point. And obviously from allocation, we start moving to things about thinking about how your portfolio is constructed and then to the monitoring process. So there is a rhyme and reason to what we're doing. And we're actually, each step builds on the other steps to the point where you get to monitoring. And I'll discuss monitoring a little bit further in the November journal, which we'll have up next week. But we're actually going, this is a cumulative process. So we're laying the foundation and then we're going to build on top of that. So, if you have any questions, I don't see any coming through right now, Jenna. We haven't got any yet. We'll stay on for another minute or two to see if there's any questions.
Yeah, Charles,
Yeah.
I was going to actually show our viewers just what the lesson 4 looks like on. So I'm going to
Sure.
share my screen real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just while we're waiting for some questions.
Absolutely.
Hopefully everybody can see, but I have the lesson 4, the key components of goals within the AAII community. We posted this last Thursday, as Charles mentioned, and we're kind of giving you an example of 5 key components and breaking down your goals, your top priority goals into different ones. So basically, we're focusing on when it will be reached, what the goal is, its duration, its cost, and then its priority relative to other goals. So if you can see, here we go. Sorry about that. You can see we have broken them down into the 5 steps, and we're asking for our members to engage. So after you reflect, pick your top priority goal and break it down using the 5 key components listed above. And then if you don't want to share, I'll just write skip by the number. And additionally, I wanted to ask our members to rate how they felt about achieving their goals in a scale from 1 to 5. 1 being mostly uncertain, and 5 being very certain that they're going to achieve these goals. And especially when we're breaking them down into, seeing how much things are going to cost and how much you'll actually have to plan. This helps kind of breaking it down and understanding it a little bit more specifically. So I gave an example. My long-term goal is traveling to Europe, a 2-week trip annually. 2, I will start my 2-week annual trips to Europe when I'm 35 years old, and I hope to, be able to continue traveling until I'm around 65 years old. These are just examples, just showing you how you can break it down. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. And then number 3, the duration of my goal is around 30 years that I will need to plan for. 4, my estimate is 1,000 per week plus 600 round trip. This is also just an estimate. Just around 2,600 each trip for 30 years because that's what I'm planning on traveling. So I'm trying to plan for 78,000 for my estimate for my total. And as a ranking, traveling is my top priority goal right now, and then followed by retirement as my second. And I feel pretty certain, I gave it a 4 as my rating, that I will be able to save around 78,000 for traveling and to be able to keep that goal. So that's kind of what I just want to share. I'll get back to us. There we go.
Yeah, I also point out this whole process, I said this in the videos too, also started just from me personally. I'm a planner. I believe in having a plan. And, I've been using a form of PRISM for a while. Yeah, I use spreadsheets, I have goals written down, but, my long-term goals are funding retirement, avoiding having to rely on cat food for dinner when I'm retired. Like to eat a little bit nicer than that. But like Jenna, short-term goals too, that traveling, setting aside money aside for emergencies. Well, we need to badly replace the furniture in our house, so that's a short-term goal for us. One thing about the pandemic, realized that maybe that couch wasn't so comfortable, but like Jenna, traveling as well. So, but I do think having those goals written down do provide a purpose, and I think people are more likely to follow a plan, more likely to save, more likely to make decisions aligned with their goals if they have that clarity in terms of what they're doing. And that's why we put goals front and center, is really having that purpose that I'm going to save for retirement, I'm going to save for heirs. Maybe there's a charity or your congregation you want to leave money to. So that's why we start with goals. I really think having gives you that purpose, but obviously then it also allows you to define why you're saving. And so you'll see this carry through, as I said before, with the PRISM process. Jen, I don't think we have any questions coming through yet.
No, actually, we have a couple that just came in. Let's see.
Great.
So the first one is PRISM a process available to all AAII members or just platinum subscribers?
That's a great question. So this is an AAII member benefit, so it's available to all members. If you're a basic member doing an annual subscription, you're a life member, or if you're also subscribing to one of our additional products, Platinum, SSR, it's available to all AAII members. This is a member benefit.
Another one that just came in, how does PRISM complement or interact with the planning efforts that a financial planner may assist an investor?
That's a great question. And it works really well. And the nice thing about PRISM is you can go to your financial planner, give them this what you're filling out, and have that conversation. And even if you're working with your financial planner and they have a plan, go through this process. They might uncover things that weren't in the financial planner's questionnaire. And I think it actually leads to better conversations with your financial planner, more philosophical, more goal-oriented. And your financial planner, they might have a really good plan, and you might find what you do through PRISM matches up. But I do think, as I said just a moment ago, it helps with that conversations where you can make perhaps have a more meaningful conversation about, is what they're suggesting, is that aligned with what you're doing? Is there some things that maybe you uncovered you haven't thought about, or maybe some things have changed as you develop that plan? So it works really well. And if you work with a financial planner, I would encourage you to share your PRISM documents and what you're uncovering through PRISM Academy with your planner and have that conversation.
Makes sense. We have another one. So, as we delve deeper into PRISM, is there any particular hypotheses or models, for example, 4% draw on retirement funds versus 3.5% versus 3%, et cetera?
There's not, and it's interesting when you get to retirement. I will say we started mapping out a platform for calculating retirement withdrawals, and we will have something in monitoring about tracking it. But there's a lot of disagreement in retirement about how much you should actually withdraw. Our survey suggests a lot of AAII members, for instance, just take out the required minimum distribution and nothing else. Obviously, if you're depending on the withdrawals for living expenses, that changes things. But we will get into the monitoring process to allow you to think about whether or not what you're withdrawing leaves you on track. We'll use Jim Clune's level 3 worksheet to do that, but we're not suggesting a specific number. What I will say, when I've looked at the numbers in the past, generally, if you're around 4%, historically, that's been a safe withdrawal rate. Obviously, if you have a lot allocated to bonds or heavy allocation to income, that might make a difference. But also your withdrawal time frame makes a difference as well. If you're withdrawing for 20 years, you can take a much higher percentage than if you're going up for, say, 40 years. So it does vary. There isn't a clear consensus, but it does seem that 4% for periods of about 30 years is a pretty good number, but it does depend on several factors. But we will, as we get through PRISM, talk about that. We'll actually have Jim Clune's level 3 worksheet, which you can use to see whether or not you're on track or off track. But I think the big thing is just having that flexibility. If you're having a year that you're doing really well, you can take out a little bit more, but if you're having a year where the market's really down, maybe you take out a little less. And that seems to be the big key when you're looking at withdrawals, the ability to be able to withdraw a little less during down markets, a little bit more during up markets, helps you out over the long term.
Another goal or another question that came in recently was, we talked about short-term and long-term goals, but should the goals we focus on be the big goals first, like emergency funds, retirement, percentage of savings, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when we get to the prioritization. If you had to, put one goal over the other, what would that be? And it can be a tough discussion with yourself to consider, because maybe you really want that sports car, maybe you really want that trip to Europe, but you start realizing, this goal matters more. And where it really comes into play, I think for parents particularly, if they want to help their kids out with college, or even with grandparents, they want to help their kids or their grandchildren out with college, but they're also looking at retirement, which takes precedence. And I make the argument in the course that I think retirement takes precedence, so you're not relying on your child, your grandchild to help you out. But certainly, whatever goal you need to hit first, that's the most important goal. And so maybe you really want to travel, or maybe you really want to leave a big donation to charity, but there's some other goal that's more important that needs to be met first. Prioritize that goal. Realize, prioritize the goals you have to make. The goals you should make come second, and then the goals that are more aspirational, then realize they are aspirational, and if push comes to shove, maybe those aspirational goals just aren't going to be met. And it can be difficult to say no to certain goals that you really want to hit. But sometimes unfortunately, that's life, and sometimes that's just reality.
I think for myself and everybody included, I've noticed in the AAII community, people have been kind of shifting their goals. We talk about different life stages. So, people are evaluating and writing these goals down, then realizing later on that, this isn't actually aligned anymore because, I've entered a new life stage, or, so I think that shifting has, really, even occurred recently to me as well. Kind of going back to the underlying models of PRISM, we have a question that says, what kinds of investing performance data underlies the PRISM model? And then it says 100 years of market performance data, occurrence of bear markets, how deep and how long standing they were, etc.
So the PRISM process is actually not tied into performance data. We really want people to personalize it because everyone's tolerance for risk is different. Their goals are different. So we're not espousing do this specific strategy. We are going to, when we get to allocation, we are going to talk about returns. We are going to look at our asset allocation models. The models themselves, the data goes back, I don't want to give it quite the year yet. It's based on mutual fund data. So it's not 100 years of data, but we have looked at data from Ibbotson Associates and from Kenneth French, and their data does go back to the 1920s. So we do have long-term data on how stocks have performed relative to bonds. So we do have long-term data on that. But when you look at PRISM, we'll share our asset allocation models when we start getting to step 2, but we'll also give you the ability to select your own allocation. So we're not, again, not saying do this sole asset allocation, but we want you to think about relative to your risk tolerance. And even if we suggest that your risk questionnaire, that you should have a moderate allocation, we'll give some suggestions for what that should look like, but you still have the flexibility to actually structure it the way you want to. And maybe you disagree with their asset allocation models, and maybe you strongly believe that allocation strategy Y is a better strategy. That's your choice, and that's fine. Just make sure you write it down saying, this is the allocation strategy I'm going to follow, and you understand why. So we're not forcing anyone into a specific investment strategy. It really comes from what your goals are, your tolerance for risk, and your time frame.
Kind of on the same, comments, but we had a question that said, does PRISM also include a component that looks at the risks that an investor has created for him or herself, such as over allocated into technology equities or the riskiness of particular small cap or international investments?
So we don't get into that level of detail because we're really trying to structure the plan you build upon it. And so again, when we get to step 10 allocation, we'll talk about allocation decisions. But I think with your portfolio process, when we start getting to look at your portfolio, then it really is a matter of thinking about how you're going to populate your portfolio. And so you really want to think about from allocation, what is your allocation? So if your allocation is calling for large cap and small cap, large cap, small cap, international, bonds, you really want to look at each of those allocation buckets and ask yourself, is my portfolio lining up with those allocation buckets, or do I have too much on large cap? And you know what I went through, I'm looking at the AI models, and it says I should hold X percentage in small cap. And so maybe I do have too much in large cap. I need to tweak it. My portfolio tool on the website on AAII.com will help give you some of that diversification information, particularly if you're an A+ subscriber or a platinum subscriber. But for PRISM itself, we're just trying to give you the blueprint for building your own allocation versus trying to drill down to each person's specific allocation. So we'll give you tools to look at what you're doing, but we're not going to tell you, hey, you have too much in tech. That's really going to be based on your allocation plan.
Let's see, I don't see any more questions coming in. Let's see, we'll give it just a second. If anybody has any questions about the, posting in the AAII community, starting, discussion threads, we're happy to answer those as well. Okay, we got one more. Will the PRISM process result in a printable report or plan that can be shared with the financial planner?
It will result in a financial plan. So when you're done with the PRISM Academy, you will have an actual plan that you can print up, share with your financial planner. I encourage people to share it with their families. Particularly if you have a significant other or a spouse. If you want to, if you're talking to your children or grandchildren about your estate plans, I think it's a good time. It's a good thing to do. Also, if you have someone in your family who's younger, get them involved in this. I think it's a great way to get them involved, get them learning what to do, and really set them on a right foot going forward. So have the discussions, but absolutely, if you work with a financial planner, you compile all the documents and actually give it to them. So when you're done, you will have an investment plan that's yours to use and to share with those people who you want to share it with.
And I think we have worksheets for lesson number 3 and then for the upcoming lesson 5 to plan for as well.
Exactly.
Great. If there's any more questions? We got a few shout outs. Says thank you so much, Charles.
Thank you. It's nice. And yeah, we'll certainly be doing these again. We want to make these a regular routine as part of the PRISM Academy, so I can answer your questions and obviously and hear feedback from you as well. And Jen and I are both also watching the community, watching the Academy, the posts in it. So please stay active.
Yes, and
but Jen, I know we have a survey about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to remind our members that you guys can also, if you don't feel comfortable posting within the discussion thread, if you have a question or something, you can privately message me. It should be on the right-hand side when there's a button that says reply. There's a little drop-down menu. If you click on one of my posts, you can it'll take you right to message me privately if you have any questions, and then I can get back to you as soon as I can. And then Charles, you mentioned a survey. Let me get that out real quick. The next survey will be, how often would you like office hours to occur? Like Charles mentioned, we hope to make these a regular thing. So go ahead and I will launch it right now.
And I'll say why we're doing this. We've been jokingly calling this brunch, and I was joking over the weekend that I was going to have a mimosa with me since it's brunch. But I apologize to the group. I failed to both get the orange juice and the champagne, so hard to toast everybody without a mimosa. But perhaps next time.
Yes, and bring your own. We encourage mimosas. The next one.
I guess that would be BYOM.
BYOM, exactly. And I'll just give the poll a few seconds just to wrap up.
Yeah. And so like we said, we want this to be regularly, but we also want to do a schedule that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah, and if you have a suggested time that maybe works better, we really like doing kind of like Charles said, a brunch, a little noon event, for us in the central time zone. But if another time works better, go ahead and just message us, and we'll take that into consideration.
Absolutely. This Academy really is for you, the AAII member, so we want to work well for you.
Okay, I'm going to close it and I will share the results. It looks like about 17% of you guys said you'd like it weekly, 33% said bi-monthly, and 46% monthly, and 4% quarterly.
Okay. Well, that's good feedback. We'll definitely take that into consideration, and we will plan accordingly.
Yes, great. Well, I think if we don't have any more questions, let me go check real quick. Let's see. Just to answer on my own, it says, I think we got, are these going to be recorded? Yes, so all of our webinars and PRISM office hours will be recorded, and then you can find them on our YouTube, usually the next day or the day after at the very latest. Just gonna scroll through these real quick. Looks like everybody's just commenting, a couple shout outs on what they prefer for times. So yeah, we'll take everything into consideration. Charles, do you have any last remarks before I close everything up?
I don't just want to thank everybody for coming and for participating in the PRISM Academy. We're going to release new lessons every Thursday, so keep your eyes open and participate. And if you get stuck on something, you need help, or you have a comment on a particular lesson or the course overall, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Definitely. I agree. And I want to thank Charles for taking the time to answer everyone's questions about the PRISM Academy and AAII community today. I also want to thank everyone for attending the first ever PRISM office hours. As a reminder for our members, lesson 4 has been posted, and we invite everyone to engage within the AAII community discussion thread. If you haven't joined the community yet, but would like to, visit community.aaii.com or visit the planning page on our website. And then lastly, we have an important Platinum Open House webinar coming up today at 2 p.m. Central. So it'll be from 2 to 3, which you can sign up for at aaii.com/webinars. And the AAII Platinum Open House will take place, like I said, today, Monday, October 25th, from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Central. And I'd like to note that this is a special date and time in contrast with other webinars that we've hosted in the past. And with that, we wish all of you viewing good health, good fortune, and a great Monday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.